Hey, Terry,
Hello.
guess what?
What's that?
It's Grand Prix Extra.
It is! Should I do my
It
crowd noise?
is. What what is it like? Where is it? Isn't like some places
Ah,
where if they're not happy with you, they'll whistle or something,
they
or
hit. Do they hiss?
they
They
hiss,
hiss at you
or
if you boo and hiss.
uh, I don't want any boo and hissing.
No hissing. No hissing on this show.
No hissing on this one.
No way.
So if you're listening to this, you are a cool kid
Yeah, you're special.
because you are part of our Patreon. Unless one of our patrons steals this audio and they upload it somewhere they shouldn't,
In which
then you're not
case,
cool.
you'll be in trouble.
So before we get into what we're really here for today, which
Mhm.
is we're gonna play a little bit of our interview with Charlie McCormick, who is the head detective or the lead investigator of the case involving Bobbi Jo's. I was gonna say Bobbi Jo's Annette, Bobbi Jo Oberholtzer and
Mm.
Annette Schnee. I
Yeah.
should not have done two Bobbi Jo's like within a
No,
few weeks of each other.
I get them mixed up, those two, and I'm always going to say like Bobby Jo Stinnett, and it's like, oh no, it's not.
No,
It's
it's
Bobby Jo
no.
Oberholtzer.
Well, then you think about it too, because Annette and Stinnett,
Yeah,
they rhyme.
they do. Yeah.
So
It's
it's like,
really
oh,
hard
this is
to.
a
Yeah.
mess. Um, but before we get into that, earlier I had been sharing some, I guess, serial killer links with you.
Yeah.
So I think it was last episode when we were talking about suspects. We mentioned that in and around 1982 that there were at least 4 known serial killers who either lived in the area or traveled through the area.
Mhm.
Now, we only talked about 2 of them as suspects,
Yeah.
but there was one that I wanted to bring up real quick, that I sent to you, and this is actually a guy that I just learned about, and his name
Is
was
Dwayne.
or is Dwayne. Who was
Dwayne
it? Dwayne Eugene Owen.
Owen. Yeah. What a
Uh,
crazy man he is.
He is he is crazy. So we know that he lived in Dillon, Colorado, which
Mhm.
is close to, well, basically it's basically touching Silverthorne, which is close to Frisco.
Yeah. Which
Okay.
is not very far from Breckenridge, as we know.
No, yeah, not at all. And so we know that he was in Dillon and at least in 1981.
Mhm.
I don't know when he left, but we know that in February 1982 that's when he is in Florida. So he arrives in Florida like around February 1982. So there is a chance until I hear back from Charlie
Mm.
McCormick that he might have been in the area
At the same
in
time.
January
Yeah.
1982. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he was also, and I'm gonna mess this one up. He was at one point actually admitted to being involved in the disappearance of Teresa. Is it
Oh, yeah.
Knuth?
Yeah, I can't pronounce her name.
Okay, okay, Teresa Sue Knuth.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna spell this out for everyone. So her first name is
Nuff?
Oh, sorry,
Yeah, maybe it's Nuff.
Tereasa. Sue. Last name Knuth.
Yeah, maybe it's Nuff,
Now
silent K.
Nuth,
Yeah, Nuff.
Knuth, something like that.
Maybe.
So she was 23 years old, and at the time was camping with her boyfriend, Fred Caucus. They were actually staying in a basically like a squatters camp, in Frisco,
Mm.
and they were living from what do we call it? An abandoned bus? Is that what
Yeah,
I think
I
they
think it
called it?
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then on August 24th, 1981, Teresa went missing, and she left behind her identification, cigarettes, and other personal items. There have been no traces of her whereabouts. Nothing was found in the area or around the campsite. They did a extensive search for her, and basically no new leads or evidence was found. So she went missing. Now, after this Dwayne Owen was arrested, he actually admitted to killing Teresa and told authorities where he had buried her body. But when they went and they excavated the area, nobody was found. Now, of course, like every piece of shit criminal, murderer, serial killer, they go on later on to recant their statements of guilt.
Mm. The thing is with her, like she looks totally different to Bobbi Jo and Annette. Annette and Bobbi Jo were the same weight, same height. They were
Hmm.
blonde. They looked really similar. This one looks
Yeah.
totally different.
Um,
So I wonder
a
if
little
maybe
bit.
he
Yeah. Well,
did kill her. Yeah,
the hair is different. So it's
yeah,
dark hair.
yeah. She's got long
Well,
dark
she was
hair, hasn't she?
5'1", 110.
110.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what other random thought I had too about this? Because looking at her picture,
Mm.
immediately I started thinking, oh, that kind of resembles the unidentified woman that was with Annette in the drugstore.
Oh God, yeah,
Isn't right?
yeah. Didn't she have shoulder length hair though? Dark
Uh,
shoulder length hair.
did she?
I think she did have dark shoulder length hair. I think it was short.
Here, let's just find out. Unidentified woman. Stick with me.
Yeah, I'm sure she had
Let's
short hair.
see.
I've got it
Let
in
me
my
go
notes.
to,
Hang on, I've got it in my notes. Let me just grab the
and we are not
Oberholtzer
editing this because
because this is real life. This is how it goes. Let me
this is
just check
real
my
life.
notes. Where are we? So we have got Annette, Bobbi
No, she
Jo.
had. Well, I wouldn't call it short. Let's see.
Dear
She said,
match
okay, this
pick
is
her
described
together.
as a witness by a white female, approximately 5'4", so she would be a little taller
A
than
little
her. So
taller, yeah.
Teresa was 5'1", slender build. Teresa would have had slender build, dark
Yeah.
hair, looked like she
Yeah.
had been camping out for a few days.
Oh. So maybe it is Teresa Sue. So it didn't say short. I had in my head it was short hair, but she might have had her hair in a ponytail. Interesting. Is there any
I'm looking at the
correlation between them?
photo. Ah, God, I don't know.
How crazy would that be?
Someone listen, figure this out for us.
Can you imagine though
Do
if
some
that
research.
is? Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Do yourself a favor. Look up this Teresa Sue Knuth or
Yeah.
Knuth, depending on how it's pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up, read the case, look at her picture, look at the composite of the woman that Annette Schnee was with.
And that's on the Breckenridge, that's on the Rocky Mountains cold case site, isn't it?
That's on that site. That's on our site
Yeah.
too. So you can go
Yeah,
to our site as well. We have our portion that's
we do.
dedicated to the case.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Hmm.
She's 23, Caucasian, brown hair. That's the only thing that's really different. I mean, height and weight is about on with both Bobbi Jo and Annette.
Yeah, the height and the weight is, isn't it? Okay,
Mhm.
I'm looking at our
So
website right now. There it is.
so it'd be interesting if this Teresa and if Dwayne are connected at all to our case here.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Oh, did you see the
Yeah,
picture
when you
yet?
look at the picture, yeah, you're right. She's got slender build, dark hair. So it does look it yeah, that could be her. I'm just putting them side by side. Why do you do this to me? Why? It does look like her. Yeah, it
It
does.
does.
When you put them side by side, it actually, other than the fact she's got a fringe and she hasn't, but they
But
do.
it's okay.
The face does look
But
similar.
Teresa was last seen in August.
Mm,
And so between August to January, you could do a lot with your hair.
that's right.
Now the question is why would she be with Annette then, right?
Well, yeah, that's
Was she
strange, isn't it?
being what did Dwayne kidnap her and was he keeping her?
Yeah, maybe. Ooh, interesting. That's crazy.
So I do have the question out to Charlie about Dwayne and
Mm,
his if he was in the area in January.
mm. So
And
we'll
maybe I need
find
to go back
out.
to him and be like, hey, have you ever looked in the thought of Teresa Sue Knuth or Knuth being
Yeah,
the unidentified woman?
that's crazy.
I love throwing in like these little kinks.
You do this to me all the time.
I
Just as I
do.
think we've sorted something out, you throw something new in there. I also think if you do go onto our website and have a look, I think when you look at the contents of like Annette's backpack and you look at the hat and the gloves and you look at the socks and the booties, I think it just hits home how sad this is. That's all that's left of them is like their socks and their sweatshirts.
Yeah,
And I just think it's really sad when you look at it like that. It's really sad. So you got the booty found from the Hoosier Pass there, and then you've got the orange booty with Annette's shoe, like her boot. You can see it, and her right shoe and her sock. I just think it's really sad when you look at it like this. It sort of brings it home that it's not just a case, is it? It is actually real people and somebody's front door keys, and I think it's really sad. This case is very sad.
it is.
Yeah.
So,
We've got quite a lot on our website. So if you go and have a look, you can see the timeline of events for this case. You can also see all the details and the Crime Stoppers numbers and the tip line numbers, and everything that we've covered really on the case and over the last three weeks.
yeah, I really think I think I need to add some more stuff to it. I think I need to add like suspects and some information on them. Yeah, so I'll continue to update it, and um, hopefully you find it interesting, and you kind
Yeah.
of it helps you kind of paint the picture a little better.
Yeah, it's a lot. I like it. As when you can actually see it, it does sort of bring it all in. It ties it all in because you sort of get when you're listening to it, you get an idea in your head of what you think it looks like. Those booty socks are not. They're not what I thought they would look like until I saw the pictures when you sent them over. So they're not. Yeah, they're different to what I thought they'd be. Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe you've
All
onto
right.
something there.
Maybe, or maybe I'll ask Charlie this, and he'll be like, "You are an idiot."
Yeah. Do you not think we've already tried that? Loser. Stop asking me
Loser.
questions. Leave me alone.
You bother me. I'm 85 years old. I don't have
That's
time for this
right.
crap.
That's right. Go away. Do you think I've been doing this for 50 odd years and not thought of that?
Oh my god, yeah, right. So speaking of Charlie, like I said, we did get to interview him. What a few weeks ago, what 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Yeah.
He was fabulous, great man to talk to. We talked to him for like almost an hour and a half, which was,
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't even seem that long, but
No.
it was. So I think what we should do is we should kind of play some of the I don't know what you want to call them, highlights or a
Yeah,
portion of it.
I think that's nice. The highlights of the phone call because there were quite a lot of things we covered.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things we covered. There's a lot of things. There's things that we learned that we didn't know, and there's things that we learned that. Well, I don't know if we've learned anything that we can't talk about, but
Yes, we did.
oh, we did. Oh yeah. Okay.
I love the insider information stuff. It makes me feel happy. I like to know things. I like things to add up.
I know. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we started out our conversation with Charlie, basically, um, really finding out a little bit about him and how he got involved in this case. So this is Charlie McCormick, and this is his involvement in law enforcement, and then specifically his involvement with this the case, the murders of Bobbi Jo, Oberholtzer, and Annette Schnee.
Well, I tell you, that's kind of a long story in itself, but I'll make it short. I was a homicide detective in Denver for years, and I quit that, and I moved to Breckenridge in 1976. And within a couple of years, I started my own private investigative agency.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I was here in 1982 when the murders occurred. And in 1989, 7 years after the fact, one of the detectives that was working on the case for Summit County asked me to take a look at the case, and I took it home. And in those days, the case file was 2 binders thick.
Yeah,
it's now 40 some binders thick.
Oh wow!
But anyway, I spent the weekend going through it, and I've been involved in it ever since. First of all, I was working on it as a private investigator hired by the family of of Annette Schnee. Mm-hmm. And then when the detective who I was working with retired from Summit County, in 1990, I believe it was, we had the case, or we took the case over to Park County, and the district attorney there agreed to take it over because it's their case. Both bodies were found in Park County. And at that point, we formed a task force, and we, including me, are special investigators for that task force for the sheriff's department.
Okay. So interesting.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine working something, a case like this for so long.
It's been like nearly longer than we've been alive.
Yeah, I know.
That's the weird thing that we talked about this, that when this case started, we were like 3 and 2, and he's been working on it like 6 years after, right up until even now, he's still working on it. That is dedication for you. That is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm glad Charlie's on this, because he is absolutely dedicated to getting this solved and to finding justice for these 2 women.
I hope they get it. I really do.
Now, he kind of mentioned a little bit. So he worked for Summit County sheriffs. And as he mentioned in his comments, both bodies were located in Park County. Now, in addition to that, there were other agencies involved in this case. So we asked Charlie about this situation with multiple agencies working the case, and if this helped or hindered the early investigation.
In the beginning, in 1982, at the very beginning, it was not a good thing because there was nobody who actually took charge. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation was called in as an advisory to the other departments, and they, of course, did the majority of the lab work. But other than that leadership, there was no leadership, unfortunately. They were trying to pool their efforts, but there was no significant unitary force. There weren't assignments made. There weren't reports required and handed in. So when we got it, or when I became involved in 1989, it was a mess. I mean, we had files that were from all of the jurisdictions that you just mentioned.
Yeah. Just
kind of thrown into big boxes. No continuity to them. It was a mess. And that, of course, affected the investigation at the time, and has really affected the investigation, 9 years after the fact up till today. Because we don't, a lot of times we just don't know what was done, who was talked to, what they had to say, and who took the statements. And it wasn't too many cooks, not enough waiters.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
It was. But these are all small departments, and I think the best homicide investigators in the world could have been right on this case from the very beginning, and it would have been extremely difficult because there's so much, as you said, the evidence is scattered. There aren't enough signposts that we can really hang our hats on to say this happened for sure at this particular time and place.
Yeah.
It's all kind of speculative.
Yeah, so there were, I'm trying to remember exactly all the agencies that were involved. So we know it was Park County Sheriff, Summit County Sheriff, Breckenridge Police, I believe. Colorado Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah.
Was you'd had Fair Play Police, if I'm not mistaken.
There was like 5 or 6, wasn't there?
Frisco Police, maybe. Yeah, so 5 or 6.
Yeah.
There's no efficiency in that at all.
No, and that must be frustrating to look back at and think, God, if we'd just done this in the first place, if one set of people had just taken this, then things might have been different. But like you said, it's such a huge crime scene. It's such a expanse that possibly, that it still wouldn't have been solved, even if they had done it like that in the beginning anyway.
I don't, I like to imagine that today law enforcement are working at least probably closer than
I
before,
think
but it's
they've
so
learned, haven't they?
strange.
Yeah.
So strange, like how at this time it's like people, all these agencies are very protective of their own work and
They're
their own
pat, yeah. And they don't wanna share information with the other ones. Well, it's like, well, why? You're all
Yeah.
working towards the same thing. You're all working to find out who did this. Why not pull together and do it together?
Hmm.
Maybe things
And
have
it
changed now.
and it shouldn't be a, well, we want the glory of solving it.
Mm,
It shouldn't be that, because I think,
no.
if you have all these agencies, you have. So while we talk about it, you have 5 or 6 agencies, looking into it. It was a hindrance,
Yeah.
but you have all those. You have that many resources, and it still is a hindrance, and you can't make something work out of it.
Yeah. It's a shame, isn't
And
it?
that's what shocks me too. So we go back to like his previous response, like how he got involved, and he said that when he took over, the investigation, there were 2 binders,
Mm.
right? And now there's
Yeah.
some 40 some boxes. How can you have 6 agencies and you can only have 2 binders
2
full of,
binders. Exactly.
information?
Yeah. That's
It's
crazy,
unbelievable.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is, really is. So from there, he mentioned it really briefly. The other issue that they were facing was the expanse
Mm.
of the crime scene, and so in in this clip, Charlie kind of explains the area involved the area of the crime scene and all the area that they had to actually search.
Yeah, it's about 30, close to 30 miles when you consider Highway 9, 285, and Sacramento Creek Road. And then, the evidence, of course, stretches throughout all of that, beginning at the top of the pass. Well, even on the Breckenridge side of the pass,
Yeah.
all the way over Hoosier down through Highway 9 to 285, and then 285 down towards Deckers and Denver.
It's insane.
Wow, that's huge, isn't it? That's
It's insane.
massive.
Yeah. This is another good time for you to go actually to our website, and you can actually see a map of the area that was put together and how spread out everything was. So
Yeah.
this is unlike any crime scene that I've come across before.
I've never seen a case like
Especially
this.
no, well, yeah, especially when you have 2 victims
Mm.
that are essentially there's no connection between the 2 of them.
Mm.
And then you have so much evidence that's spread out across such a large tract of land.
Yeah, it's mad. You can't, yeah, until you see it on a map, you're like, oh, wow, okay. That's a lot of mileage to cover.
I know.
That's
It's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
insane. And so, yeah, and even if, well, like we said, a 30-mile stretch, for the suspect or suspects, that is actually extended because you got to imagine they're backtracking as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So really, we're probably closer to 50 miles at least
yeah,
when
at
you're thinking about
least.
the distance that the suspects or suspects have traveled.
Traveled, yeah. God, it's
Crazy.
crazy.
So along those lines, we asked Charlie about crime in the area and about specifically crimes like this or murders. So it was I think we're both under the impression that this is a relatively safe area,
Yeah.
and so how does something like this occur without an immediate suspect? And this also led us into a discussion or talking about Thomas Luther,
Mm.
who in February 1982 had the attack on the 21-year-old woman. So we're talking 3 brutal crimes occurring within really a
Yeah.
1 month within a month period of time in a relatively safe area.
Yeah.
So this is what Charlie had to say on that.
Well, certainly the murders don't occur, but murder occurs everywhere.
Yeah.
But Cain and Abel couldn't even get along to the point where one of them killed the other one. So
Yeah.
murder is not unheard of, even in Tinseltown, like Breckenridge, which is a resort area. But the way this went down, this would be an unusual case anywhere. And the Tom Luther case occurred 6 weeks after this.
Yeah, so if you remember Thomas Luther, he attacked a woman. Like I said, it was in Frisco, or he picked her up in Frisco and then attacked her in Silverthorne.
Yeah,
and so he attacked her with a hammer in the car before letting her go, which is strange. I mean, that's in itself strange, right?
Yeah, he's a crazy man.
Why? Yeah, he's definitely crazy. You attack someone, and then at some point you're like, okay, you got to go.
Yeah.
And it is different. It is a different sort of attack than what occurred to Bobbi Jo and Annette, from what it appears, right? And now it's same in that he picked up this woman who was looking for a ride. Her ride wasn't there, so he gave her a ride. But rather than shooting her, he had a hammer and he beat her with it. So
that's crazy, isn't it? That straight away, when we first started talking about that, the fact that you pick up a hammer and beat somebody with a hammer, that's just, it's different to shooting somebody, isn't it? I mean, you shoot somebody, you're quite separated from that. You shoot them, that's the end of it. But to actually beat someone with a hammer, that's just, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, and there's accounts of the attack out there that you can read. It was vicious. It was a
really
vicious attack.
It was really nasty.
Yeah, this man, Thomas Luther, had a lot of hate.
Yeah, he had a lot of hate towards women, didn't he? Stemmed, we think, from the hatred towards his mother.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So with Thomas Luther in mind, we did ask him about him being involved, possibly being involved in the murders of Annette and Bobbi Jo, but also we talked about his DNA and how it did not match the blood that was found on the glove on the tissue that was found with Bobbi Jo's backpack.
That's correct, but that's not conclusive altogether. With anybody that we've tested, it just shows that they didn't contribute to blood. It doesn't prove that they weren't there and participated, assuming there might have been more than one person that killed these two women. So, but it's a pretty good guidepost we've used to eliminate a lot of people.
So he could have, if there was more than one, we can't eliminate him from participation.
We even figured out who his running buddy was in those days and found him in Vermont and took his DNA, and it didn't match up either.
That last part's really interesting, right?
Yeah, because the guy that he was running with, they tested him and he wasn't a match either. So both of them are not a match for that.
So was there a third person?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was there? There could have been.
I guess so. But we'll get into this later. But the more men you add into this equation, the less likely I would believe that Bobbi Jo would go willingly.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
I can't see. I mean, she had rules about getting into a car with strangers. I can't see her getting into a car with two men. Let alone three. Exactly, let alone three of them. So I can't. That I think is a bit. Yeah, I don't know about that.
And we know the blood is from a male. So we know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Thomas Luther's. It wasn't his buddies who was, he was rolling around with at that time.
But people have more than one friend, don't they?
They do.
So it wouldn't necessarily be somebody that maybe he rolled with all the time. It could have been somebody that he knew of that just happened to be rolling with that night. So,
Yeah, it's true.
You just don't know, do you?
Yeah, this buddy though had to have been a dirtbag himself. Yeah. If they're like, okay, we need to check this guy out.
Yeah, definitely.
So interesting.
And talking of dirtbags.
Talking about dirtbag, yeah.
Yeah, the next one that we talked to Charlie about is Tracy Petroselli, which I was convinced that it was Tracy Petroselli to start with that did this when we first looked into him. I was convinced it was him, and then obviously things went on and changed your mind a bit. But I don't. This guy is just uniquely bad.
That's to say the least, right?
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah.
To say the least. So let's see what Charlie had to say.
If he was here and if he was with somebody, we don't know. And actually, the only reason we think he was here is that he told some investigators that he was in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, he was in Colorado in the first week of January 1982, and he stayed at the Holiday Inn in Frisco, which of course is where Annette worked. Yep. So by his own admission, he was here the day of the murders and was staying at the hotel where one of the victims worked.
Which is crazy.
Well, of course, he denied all that later on when we interviewed him. But that was how he became a suspect.
Okay.
Of course, he denied it later on. Of course, he did.
Yeah.
He's not going to admit that he was staying in the place where one of the girls that was murdered worked. He's not going to agree to that, is he?
Okay, how would he say, okay, I was there the first week of January. I stayed at the Holiday Inn in Frisco. I mean, I guess hypothetically, do you think he had time to read a newspaper to find these details out?
I don't know, maybe.
Because he was well, maybe. But he's arrested in 1982, right? So just a few months later or whatever, and he's in Nevada. I'm sure that Nevada newspapers aren't really covering the case.
Maybe not. No. Interesting.
How would
he even know?
Yeah.
How would he know?
Is it possible that he heard it somewhere or he picked up a newspaper and read it? Yeah, I guess it is, but I don't see this guy being a newspaper reader, to be honest.
But then if you're in prison, you've not got a lot to do, really. So he may well be.
I suppose.
You haven't got a lot to do in there.
So I guess it depends on when he actually told investigators this, right?
Yeah. It's the same as, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's like right off, let's say that he's arrested, picked up in Nevada, investigators from Colorado go right out there, right, to interview him. And during that interview, he's like, yeah, I was in Colorado first week in January. I stayed at the Holiday Inn in Frisco. I think that's more damning to him than, let's say, if he's asked 5 or 6 years later, right?
Yeah.
When there's more time for him to go and,
look it up and
read up on stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what it seems like a lot of times with these, serial killers. It'll be well after the fact, they'll start, claiming, oh, I was involved in this case and I killed this person.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they're researching it. Like, oh, what cases can I find that I can take credit for?
I don't even know why they do that either, because it isn't. I mean, they're just helping somebody else get away. I don't know how they sort of think about that. But it's the same, isn't it, with Thomas Luther, of saying that he killed Annette Schnee and left her face down in the river.
Yeah,
we need to find out. That's the other thing we need to find out, is when did he actually say that to the jailhouse, like the snitch in the jailhouse? Did he say that at the time, or did this come? Has this jailhouse snitch come then straight away and said, "Look, this is what he said," or did he come 10 years later and go, "Well, back in 1983, he said this to me"? Well, yeah, okay, buddy, you've had a chance to look that up, so that's just complete rubbish. So stop trying to get yourself out of prison.
So insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, I mean, I know we talked about it last episode. Is Petroselli still up there for you?
I don't know. There's just something about Petroselli. I don't know what it is. There's just something about him that, I don't know, just doesn't. I can't quite get rid of him out of my list, my suspects list. I don't know why exactly, but I just can't seem to, strike him off.
What's funny with me is I never took him serious as a suspect until we started this.
Yeah.
And then the more I've thought about it,
the
more I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I just can't get rid of him. There's just something that just keeps coming back to, no, don't strike him off just yet. Jeff, I've got rid of now. Jeff's out of the husband camp. And yeah, I can't. It's just this Tracy Petrocelli and Thomas Luther. Those two, I just think it's just something about those two.
And see, this will lead us into our next question for Charlie. But if it was Tracy Petrocelli, that would kind of explain why the blood there hasn't been a hit on the blood or the DNA, right?
Exactly.
Because his MO, he would find people to roll with before at some point deciding he was done with them and killing them.
Them. That's right. So this might be a random Joe that's blood is on her.
That blood, and then he later on he ended up killing, and so he's not gonna pop up in any sort of in CODIS or anything.
No.
And so with that in mind, we did ask Charlie about this crime. With it being what it is, it doesn't seem to me, and I'm sure you agree, this didn't come across as a first time crime.
No way.
This, and then also, it doesn't seem like this would be the last either. Definitely. Like this would be something that whoever committed this crime did again, or at least attempt again.
Gonna have a compulsion
so we talked about
carry on.
Exactly. So we talked about that, and then it got into talking about CODIS.
Well, you would think so. But we've done a lot of research nationwide, and this is the only one that has, the facts as we know them. The closest we came to was some guy who murdered a woman in Wyoming and used flex cuffs to bind her.
Yeah.
And that's the only one nationwide that we've been able to show some similarities. But yes, I think you're right that you would stand to reason that he had done this before and maybe has done it afterwards. If he did it afterwards, he hasn't been caught because his DNA is not in CODIS, but if he committed the crimes before 1996, he might not be in CODIS anyway, even if he was still in jail. There's a lot of guys that committed violent crimes that are in the 80s and 90s that are in jail serving time for them who are not in CODIS. It's a big hole in the system.
He could be in prison.
Yeah, and you see that quite a bit. I mean, it's once a month you'll see somewhere that some old guy that's been in jail forever is cut loose, and within a month they're rearresting him on charges based on the fact that his DNA was in CODIS.
Oh. Is that part of
it does happen.
Is that part of the release that when they are released they need to go into CODIS?
Yeah, and that's that kind of back in the early 90s when the federal government was trying to set up CODIS. It was an unfunded federal mandate for all the states to set up this system of taking DNA, processing it, and then shipping it off to the federal government for CODIS. So a lot of the states, the poorer states, if not all of them, are faced all of a sudden of conducting all these DNA testings. And in those days, it cost about $2,000 a piece, and it took about 3 weeks. So a lot of states, what they did is agree to be a member of the system, but that for the jail population, they wouldn't take the jail population all at once right then. They would take them as they were released from jail. So that spread it out. The cost got spread out, but unfortunately, the DNA database wasn't really fulfilled on time like it should have been. And there are still states who work that way. They don't take anybody's DNA until they're ready to go out. Mississippi used to be one of them. I don't know if they still are that way. So again, there's another big hole in the system that'll take a generation or two to get over.
Shocking.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Shocking.
But I think
right?
it's really good that they do. I think that it is good that they go and do on release, you have to be put into CODIS. I think that's a great idea. But that's if you get
It
released.
is.
You could be sitting, they could be
exactly.
sitting in life, the person that killed them could already be serving life for other crimes. And then we never find out who it is. I mean, I don't know if they die in prison, do they take their blood and put them into CODIS if they're dead?
I don't know. I don't know.
They should, shouldn't they? Because then that could help solve quite a few crimes. They can't say no.
I'm sure. Well, yeah, but I'm sure that there's lawyers that would love to jump on that,
Yeah, but why?
and
They're
say,
dead.
"Oh, you can't take their blood without, permission or whatever it is."
Yeah.
I'm sure there are.
What if you accidentally slipped? Whoops! There goes their blood. Oh, it fell into the CODIS machine.
Accidentally. Yeah, exactly. Right.
That's bad. They should give. But then, if you're in prison, you should give up all your rights for stuff like that because you're in prison for doing really bad things. It's your own fault.
How many crimes could be solved today?
Yeah.
If we just had all of it, right?
Yeah.
We're not waiting for release.
No, we're just coming in and we're taking your blood, like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that, so you could be sentenced for 25 years. There could be people or crimes that aren't going to be solved because they're, someone's sitting in a cell waiting for your release date.
Which they might never get.
Yeah.
They might be in there for life, forever.
It's unbelievable to me.
I think there'll be a
So
lot.
that's why it's crazy. That's why it's crazy. Like a lot of times you hear cases and like, oh, there's no CODIS hits. Okay, so it must not have been someone that has committed another crime in their life.
That's right. Yeah.
That's not true.
No, it's not true.
That's not true at all.
No, it could very well be somebody who has, who has pre-1996 that's in prison that hasn't had their blood taken.
Yeah.
I reckon there's a lot. I think if you were to do it, if you were to do a widespread sweep of it all, I reckon you'd solve so many crimes.
Oh yeah.
Old guys that haven't given their blood, and I bet you.
It's insane. Goddamn old white guys.
Yeah, goddamn you old white men.
Jesus Christ. Destroying this world.
Yeah, I know. Sort your lives out. Give us your blood.
So with our, after our discussion of Thomas Luther, Tracy Berselli, and then of course CODIS, we started talking specifically about the cases and particularly about Annette. So we began asking about specifically about Annette Schnee's boyfriends because there's not a whole lot of information out there about them.
No,
I know there's a lot about there's a lot about Jeff Oberholtzer, but not a lot about the boyfriends. And so we also asked if there's if they could connect Bobbi Jo to any of them. And then after that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you started asking specifically about the location of Annette's body.
Yeah.
So let's get into those questions.
Probably both, and then maybe one or two beyond that. She was pretty active, She was 21 years old, very good looking, and she attracted a lot of attention. And so, but the two that she probably saw the most are the ones that we kind of concentrated on, but they aren't the only ones. She had an ex-boyfriend who still lived here at the time of the murders, who she lived with, I think about a year before she was killed, and they had a few occasions of domestic violence, and we targeted him for quite a while and eliminated his DNA too.
Now, with these boyfriends, were there any boyfriends that you were able to link to Bobbi Jo in any sort of way?
No. All of them. None of them had that we just knew of any links to Bobbi Jo.
Actually, before we go on to your question about location, so there were a lot of men in Annette's life. It sounds like, right? So there were two that there were at least two that she was seeing at the time. There was a third ex that she had lived with, sounded like a year prior. I still don't understand why they don't have nearly as much attention drawn to them as Jeff Oberholtzer. Now, I understand why Jeff Oberholtzer has a lot of attention, especially seeing that they found his business card with her with Annette's stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm still surprised that there's not a whole lot out there about the boyfriends.
Yeah. I think everybody just went right in on Jeff to start with, didn't they? And it was basically he was a suspect for the first God knows how many years. I think that everything was just focused on him. And like he said, they don't know who interviewed who, what they did in the first sort of 6 years of that investigation. So it's possible that all that information has been lost. It's possible that
That's true.
they did go and, one agency went and interviewed certain people, but we don't have any information because it's just gone. That's the thing. I can't imagine them not being interested in them and going over them.
Now, I if I remember correctly, with the two guys that she had most recently saw before her murder.
Yeah.
One did help the police put together a timeline of events that day for her.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, the other one, when they asked for a blood sample, refused.
Yeah, wasn't he?
Do you recall
lawyer?
that?
Yeah, his lawyer said no, said not to give a sample, and he didn't. Is that right? Do I remember that right?
Yeah. I think I think so.
Yeah.
So interesting. Without knowing more information, I don't think we could. We can call them suspects because I think Charlie
everyone's
said
a suspect.
So
Everyone's a suspect.
Everyone is a suspect unless proven otherwise through DNA analysis, you're a suspect. Technically, I was 3 years old. Technically, I could be a suspect in this case because I've never been tested.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it was not me. I was.
But if you were in the area, and then I guess you would be a suspect anyhow, wouldn't you? Because you've not been ruled out, so you're ruled in until you're ruled out. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so now let's hop into regards to Annette's body, and specifically, we're talking about. We were both interested, but I believe you asked if the body was where it was found, if that's where it was dropped, if investigators believe that where she was found was the location of the body drop.
Yeah. So do we think that's where it was, where she was killed, or did the body move, do we think?
Don't really know. It could go either way. There's a very good chance that her body, whether she was dead or alive, entered the river upstream and floated down to where she was found, because access to where she was found is down a very, very steep wooded hill from the road down to where the body was. Okay. And she was kind of floating in an eddy that had been created in the side of the stream. So it's a good possibility that she entered the stream up from where she was found, where it was a little easier to get to the stream.
Yeah, we were trying to work out the timeline.
No further upstream than that, because the road was not plowed. But about 100 yards beyond, in those days, it was not plowed. They stopped plowing about 100 yards beyond west of where she was found.
And the Sacramento Creek does not go over, or the Sacramento Creek Road does not go over Sacramento Creek at any point, does it?
Not at that area. When it gets down further, way down off of Highway 9, there are places where it could have left the banks, but not where she was. No.
Okay.
But it's a very small stream, and but in the runoff, it's a probably 200 yards wide, and flows pretty hard with the runoff in the June and July. Of course, she was found July 3rd, so she could have floated down. Is what I'm saying. But whether she was dead or alive, we don't really know.
So interesting.
Mm.
I'm still fascinated with where she was dropped. And I
Yeah.
say fascinated as in the area where it was is um, not the easiest terrain at all.
No, that's right. It's not the easiest
Um,
place to dump a body, is it?
no, it's you look at it and it's definitely something you'd have to be you'd have to know that the creek was there, right?
Mm.
So while he said that it flows pretty good in June and July, and you got to imagine in January, especially thinking that with the temperatures being as cold as they were, that river is completely frozen,
Mm.
or the creek is frozen. So
Mm.
it's a very small creek, frozen. Um, I think it'd be pretty easy to not even realize that there is a creek down there.
Mm. And whether she's just been just rolled down thinking it's just an embankment, and actually it's not. It's the creek at the bottom.
Exactly. I don't think you can even roll her down the embankment, to be honest. I don't think it's possible. I think there's
steep.
well, not even steepness, but like the vegetation, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
the trees and everything, or she's gonna get caught up in something. If they're trying to roll her down, you're trying to roll her down a steep embankment in snow. It's I don't know. I'd have a hard
unlikely.
time imagining. Yeah. So and then when I asked about Sacramento Creek Road, going over the actual creek, I was thinking in my head, okay, was it possible that they dumped her from like a bridge?
Mm.
So that'd be interesting to see, like what
Yeah.
bridges upstream from where the
Yeah.
body was found were there.
Good idea.
For those listening, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned in one of the episodes, the river actually flows west to east, so it is flowing towards Fairplay.
Mm.
So if with what Charlie said, her body could have been dropped upstream. So upstream meaning farther west. So going away from Fairplay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Now we went on and talked a little bit more about Sacramento Creek Road, and I had mentioned to Charlie that it did not appear like this is a road that someone from outside the area would even know exists, due to the fact that there was really no street lighting on Colorado 9, and there were no signs to indicate that the road was there. So you would have to. I felt like you'd almost have to know that the road was there and that the Sacramento Creek was there, if that makes sense.
You'd have to, yeah. I think you're right.
That's a very good question, because and that's one that we thought about a lot, that kind of made everybody lean towards the theory that this person could be local, because it's not a road that it doesn't even hit the highway in a T.
Yeah.
It comes off the highway and then kind of parallels the highway and dives down out of sight before it makes a right turn and goes west. So it's not one that you could easily see, and even in the daylight, much as at night when it's covered with snow.
Oh yeah.
So that's certainly one of the arguments that people talk about to make you think that it might be somebody local, because there was plenty of roads to go off Highway 9 from the top of Hoosier Pass all the way to Fairplay that he or they could have chosen, but they chose this one.
That is interesting.
Plus, one other aspect, about a little over 2 miles out from Highway 9, there's an old concrete frame from an old house that's really no longer there. All that's left of it is the concrete shadow of it.
Yeah.
And the locals use that for a target range.
Oh, okay.
So it's known. A lot of locals traveled that road even back then. As a matter of fact, we have a photograph of Jeff and Bobby both sighting in a .22 pistol that they had. Some neighbors were with them and took their picture.
at the shooting range?
At
Or
the frame where the frame of the house remains.
I think that was one moment that kind of shocked me. That they had a
Yeah.
picture of Bobbi Jo and Jeff at the location of
Yeah.
the framed house, or the the concrete foundation of the house where they use it as a shooting range.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? And they've actually got pictures of them there.
Yeah, and Charlie made a good point as well, because I think we kind of forget about the amount of snow that was out there, right?
Yeah.
And so with this road, especially at that time, with the snow on Sacramento Creek Road coming off of 9, how do you even see that? How do you see it?
I didn't know until we went and looked back at it again the second time. We looked a bit more in depth in it. You don't really notice it, do you? I don't see how you
No.
would unless you knew it was there.
Mm-mm. No, I mean, I'm guessing the speed limit at that time was probably 55 or something, right? On it. I
Right.
can't imagine you especially in those kind of conditions, traveling 55 miles an hour and then
Not in the snow.
no, and then swerving off onto this road that you don't even know what it leads to.
Mm. Because you don't know, it
You
could be
have
someone's drive.
Yeah. Oh,
You
easily. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I think they had to know that road was there. It had to be somebody local.
Yeah. Either that, or I mean, does someone scout that out at some point?
Mm.
But I mean, predetermined, this is where I'm going to take them. I'm going to find someone. I'm going to find a woman, and I'm going to take her
Yeah.
and rape her and murder her. And this is looks like a great location. But here's the thing, too. That's not even the there's other roads that go into Colorado 9 before you get to this one that they could have easily used as well.
That's right. So why this one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Very interesting.
It is.
Yeah. So from there, we started. I think we asked, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we began asking about the photo guy.
That's right. Yeah, the photo. Yeah, the
located.
photo in Annette's wallet. We asked about him, didn't we?
We did. I don't quite remember. Oh, you know what? I believe because you brought it up. I think you had asked him about the possibility of it being military.
Yeah.
And if they looked into the possibility of if there were any military exercises occurring in the area.
Yeah, at the time.
Yeah. Because you're right, the photo does look like military. Now, since we recorded and we put it out, we've had people say that it almost looks like a orderly photo.
Yeah, it looks like a hospital.
ID.
Yeah, hospital worker maybe.
So I'm almost in the camp of it's someone that works in the hospital. I still want to know what's going on with that eye. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I think so.
I can see what they mean because it does, but then I don't know if that's the orderly outfits that they would have worn back then. That's the thing. Now they look like scrubs from now, but back in 1983, did they wear those uniforms then?
Hold on.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so this is going to be random, but I know back around that time, there was a movie. Do you remember they were like a rap group called the Fat Boys?
No, I don't remember them.
Oh my god. Okay. So there was a rap group called the Fat Boys.
They sound great.
They had a movie.
Right.
They weren't that great. They had a movie back in the 80s called Orderlies.
Okay.
So let's see.
Okay, let's have a look. The Fat Boys Orderlies.
Let's see what they're wearing. Let's see. When was it? Okay, so it was 1987.
Okay.
Let's see what they're wearing. I know this is not scientific at all.
No. When I Google this has just come up with the Fat Boys Disorderlies trailer. Is that the right one?
Oh, Disorderlies. That's it.
Disorderlies. Okay. So it's the Fat Boys Disorderlies.
In this picture, it looks like they're wearing scrubs.
Yeah, they're white though, aren't they? They look white. Yeah. They're scrubs. Well, yeah, they're like, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, they've got dark. That guy there has got the The one with the hat on. He's got blue on. Blue scrubs.
Yeah.
Short sleeve t-shirts.
I know. This is not
good. Yeah, this is not a good way to...
But that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
Orderlies, I thought of this movie.
I want to watch this movie now, though, because it looks quite fun.
I wonder what happened to these guys.
They look funny. They do look like they're funny. It's a bit like Kenan and Kel, but just like a really older version of Kenan and Kel.
Oh, yeah.
They look quite cute. 1987. They've got to be, what, 50s now? Easy. 60s? Yeah, they've got to be in their 60s
easy.
now.
Members.
Fat boys
Mark Morales, known as Prince Marky D.
Prince Marky D. Oh my goodness.
He looks like he's still alive. There was Damian Wembley, known as Cool Rockski.
Oh God, the 80s were crazy, weren't they? How could you get away with this stuff?
And then there was Darren Robinson, also known as the Human
Dustbin.
The Human Beatbox.
Oh, okay.
How does Damian Wembley, Cool Roxy, not have his own Wikipedia page? The other two do.
Yeah. Darren Buff Love Robinson. Buff Love. I love it.
I'm gonna start a change.org petition to get Cool Roxy
his own Wikipedia
page.
Their album Crushing received a platinum status due to their single Wipeout, which was recorded with American rock group the Great Beach Boys. Oh my God.
Holy shit, you should see what this guy looks like now.
Who?
Look up Cool Rockski. So it's Cool Kool.
Yeah, Rockski. Oh, I see him. Damon Wembley.
Yeah.
He's lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Look at him. He looks a bit like, what's his name? What's the dude called that's in he married Mel B. Eddie Murphy. He looks a bit like Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah, a little bit, yeah.
He's changed a lot. You'd never think he was that. You'd never think he was in Fat Boys. No way. Not such a fat boy anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And this is why this is Crimepedia Extra.
Yeah, looking good. Oh no, what's this? R.I.P. Buff Love. Is that him? No.
No. I don't know who that is.
It's the same dude. Yeah, look. R.I.P. Buff Love. Buff Love has died. Oh, what? Buff Love Darren Robinson passed away on December the 10th, 1995. He was in the Fat Boys.
Buff Love?
Darren Robinson.
Oh, the human the
beatbox dude. That's why he hasn't got his own Wikipedia, because he's passed away.
Oh, no.
That's sad. Yeah, he's passed away.
Stick around to the end of this episode. I'm going to have a
special
memorial.
One of their singles.
For the Fat Boys.
Oh, God.
And Darren Robinson, the human beatbox.
And Cool Rockski, who's now buff. He's buff now. Cool Rockski. Rockski. He's now the buff one. Okay.
Oh, man.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So that was Picture Guy. Oh, wait. Did we do that Picture Guy yet? No, we haven't.
No, I don't think we played it yet. No, we haven't played the guy in the wallet.
My bad. Okay, so here is Charlie talking about the guy in the wallet.
In the wallet.
I think.
Well, to answer your question directly, there was nothing done about that back then, and we haven't done anything about.
Oh, sorry.
That was me asking. I just basically asked him, is there any investigation into the guy in the wallet, and did they check like the Marine bases and the Army bases around the area to see if there was anybody there on exercise at the time? I said, was anything done about that? And that's where he came in and said, well, no, actually, nobody followed that up.
There we go. So let's get back into it.
To answer your question directly, there was nothing done about that back then, and we haven't done anything about it. There are maybe half a dozen military bases in the state of Colorado. Probably the closest would be in Colorado Springs, which is about 100 miles from where all this happened.
That's the Air Force Academy, correct?
The Air Force Academy, yes, right. And then back in those days, I think Lowry Air Force Base was still active in Denver. So then there's a. Oh, wait a minute. No, when was the Air Force Academy set up? Do you remember? Maybe it was before. I guess it was before 1982.
Yeah, I believe so.
Probably in the 60s. Yeah, because I was still in college. Yeah, okay. So that would have been active, and then there's a Army base also in Colorado Springs. The name of it I can't remember right now.
Okay.
So, but to answer your question, no, nothing was done about following up on the military, trying to identify the photograph.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think mainly because it doesn't explain away why she had the photograph, but
Exactly.
she was such a she was so close with her friends and her family. It was hard to believe that she could have had a boyfriend of any duration that nobody knew about.
That is exactly what we said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it made no
but
sense.
you can't deny why in the hell would she carry it in her wallet?
Why indeed?
Why indeed? Why would she have it in her wallet?
It's because you don't give a picture of yourself to a girl just because. There's got to be some sort of connection with her and this guy. There's got to be.
And if someone does give you a photo of themselves and you don't want it,
you throw it.
What do you throw it? You don't put it in your wallet.
No, especially, I mean, it was of another chat with Charlie. He told us that it was found in the plastic bit of the wallet where you put photos. So this is obviously, that's where you put photos of your kids, of your husband, of your boyfriend, that kind of thing.
People that mean something to you.
Exactly. And it's strange that she had a boyfriend or had boyfriends and still had this bloke's picture in her wallet, which is weird. So somebody did point out on Instagram, could it have been a family member? But like we said, the family have all come forward and said no one knows who that is.
No,
it's not. It's not a family member. So it isn't. It's like an uncle or something that's been in the army or something. So it's strange.
Yeah, and I don't know if we had this in our episode or if we talked about it, but why would you have a photo in a wallet if you have a boyfriend or you're seeing people? Wouldn't that bring up like, who's this guy? Like, wouldn't someone ask you like, who is this person?
If my friend opened up her wallet and I saw it, I'd say, who's that? Like, who's that guy? So I find it really strange that nobody's asked her who he is. They all say that they don't know who he is. So strange. That's a real that guy. He bothers me. He's got I don't know what it is about him either.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think he did anything to her, but he's got a connection to her, quite obviously. Because otherwise, why on earth would she have his picture?
She would have to. Or I don't know. Did they? I doubt they looked for fingerprints on that photo, right? Was her fingerprints on it, or were there any fingerprints on it, or could this have been a picture that whoever did it threw it in as a I don't know, to kind of as like a red herring, right?
But would you have time to do that?
What if? Yeah, they would have time. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's far fetched. I think it's a far fetched idea, but yeah, I think it's a possibility.
It's possible.
It is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
So keeping on with discussion on Annette, and I think we'd ask a lot more about Annette, because when you look into this, into these crimes and these murders, there's a lot of information about Bobbi Jo.
Yeah, there's not much about Annette, is there?
And there isn't. I mean, there is. Even when you read it, it's okay. So Bobbi Jo was murdered, blah 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 blah, and then 6 months later we found Annette, and this is what happened, right?
Yeah.
So I think we did have a lot more questions about Annette Schnee, and so we asked specifically. So after she left, she left work from the Holiday Inn Frisco early on that day because she had a doctor's appointment at the Frisco Medical Center. and I cannot remember the doctor's name now. Just like
No,
the
I
second
can't
time I
remember.
forgot his name.
No, I can't remember.
So I asked Charlie if they looked into who else had appointments that day, and if it was possible that someone that she might have met in the medical center, like in the waiting room, gave her a ride. And then we got into actually how she got into Breckenridge. So she did not go directly from the doctor's appointment into Breckenridge. She ended up being dropped off before picking up another ride into Breckenridge.
No. The woman who gave her a ride from the hotel to the doctor's office, which is only about 4 blocks, was interviewed.
Okay.
But no, nobody in the doctor's office
and did
was.
I want to make sure I have this right. So when she left a doctor's appointment, we don't know what time she left, but she got a ride from a friend of a friend who dropped her off.
Right.
About 3 or 4 miles north of Breckenridge?
Yeah, about 3 miles. About 2.7 miles.
Actually, let me pull it up. Do you happen to recall where she was dropped off exactly?
Yeah, exactly. There was I don't think that's in our website either. There was a volunteer firehouse on Highway 9.
Okay.
About 2.7 miles outside, north of Breckenridge. There's a big driveway there, and that's where she got out. Because the job that this guy was working, the fellow that gave her the ride, was just across the street on the east side of Highway 9. And back into the forest a little bit, they were building a bunch of townhomes.
Okay.
And that's where he was working.
Where is it now, or is there any? If I'm looking at the map now, what would be near?
Well, the firehouse is long gone. They tore that down.
Okay.
Where are you on Google Earth?
Yeah, I'm looking at. So right now, I'm looking at around like the Breckenridge Golf Club.
Well, you're the road that goes to Breckenridge Golf Club intersects with Highway 9.
That Tiger Road, is that what it is?
Yeah, right. Okay. And if you keep going towards Breckenridge,
looks like there's a roundabout there.
Well, actually the clear area on the side of the road is still there where the firehouse used to be. So as you're traveling towards Breckenridge, it would be on the right side. Yeah. And directly across the street is an intersection of a road called Fairview.
Okay.
So if you find Fairview, which intersects from the east, the firehouse was almost directly across the street to the west.
Okay.
From that.
Oh, I see. Yep. I'm going to leave that all in because that's proof that I got Charlie and McCormick to play map with me.
You love a bit of map. You're so funny.
I do love a little bit of map.
You do.
I do love a little bit of map.
I told you I'm going to make you a shirt that says I love me some map.
I love me some map.
I love me some map.
So in essence, what we learned was that she ended up getting one, 2, 3 rides after she left the Holiday Inn. So she had 1 ride from the Holiday Inn to the medical center. She got a second ride from the medical center down to where Charlie indicated the volunteer fire station was.
Yep.
Which, if you are playing map, which I doubt because I didn't tell you to get out a map. If you have a map, if you look at a map, if you go north of Breckenridge, you'll get to like a roundabout area. And that roundabout is where about where she was, where she would have been looking for another ride to get into Breckenridge. So she was dropped off there, and then she got the ride from there into Breckenridge, which what I would assume would be with the unidentified woman.
Yes. And then into my dog sneezing into Breckenridge. Yes.
So
that's how she got there.
That's how she got there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So the next thing that we talked to Charlie about was some people had called the station, hadn't they, to say that they had some suspicious goings on next door.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. We missed one.
Oh, did we miss one?
The bullet fragment. We talked about
of
bullet
course.
fragment.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So we asked him about the bullet fragment. So I think specifically we're asking about caliber.
Do you mean caliber, dear? Yes.
Yes. Caliber.
Caliber.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever. We asked about that.
Yes.
And then I think I also asked about. So if you remember, we talked about Thomas Luther. We talked about his girlfriend that he lived with, Sue.
Yes, who had 32? Was it 32 caliber gun she had?
The 32, because she was a Frisco police trainee.
Yes.
And so she kept the 32 caliber gun underneath her pillow. So we asked about the bullet fragment. We asked about testing, and we learned why. Really, in essence, why they are not going to have a lot of luck when it comes to testing bullets.
Don't know for sure. It's because all we have is a piece of the copper jacket.
Oh, okay.
And they tell us it's probably, well, first of all, it's a round with a right twist, right lands and grooves, which means it could be any number of very popular manufacturers, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Colt. And it's either a 9mm, somewhere between a 9mm and a 38 Magnum.
I don't know very much. I don't know very much about guns, and obviously we don't have guns sort of in households as much as you do there. Is that a normal thing to sleep with your gun under your pillow?
I would hope not.
I would hope not too.
What if it accidentally goes off?
Well, exactly. Yeah. Isn't that dangerous?
I would think so.
Especially being a police trainee, surely they don't teach you in the police academy to sleep with a gun under your pillow.
Yeah. Okay. Think about it too. Like, even if you have the safety on, you have it under there. You woken up in the middle of the night because someone's trying to break in. You don't know what's going on.
No.
I mean, it's gonna take you a little bit to get your wits together. It could be. Well, I was gonna say maybe it's Thomas Luther coming in after a late night drinking and you actually shoot him, but that probably would be a good thing.
That would be a good thing. Yeah.
So keep that gun under your pillow. No, I don't know. It's strange though, right?
I think that's just weird.
I guess why. I want to know why the bullet was in such bad shape that they couldn't do anything with it. Did they not was it because? Is it? I don't know. I don't know. Is it just because is it deteriorated over the years, or is this a situation where it just was?
Yeah.
Was. But it's not like it's hitting. I can't imagine because this came from Bobbi Jo. She was shot in the back. There should be two bullets. There was one that grazed her breast. There was one that she was shot in the back. So this isn't a case where you're hitting you're not hitting a whole lot of bone. So it's not going to be, completely destroying it. So we're not talking like John F. Kennedy, the bullet going through the head and being destroyed. So why is it in such bad shape?
Could it be, I mean, if you used an older ammunition, so if it was like old ammunition, would that deteriorate being used worse than something that's maybe new and more up to date? Would a more up to date, newer bullet fare better than some old stuff?
I don't know
if they wear over time. Is there old ammunition? Do they? Because I know sometimes when we watched the program about the Night Stalker, he used old ammunition, didn't he? And do you remember he went and shot those two people at point blank range?
Oh yeah,
and the gun didn't go up properly. It didn't work properly because the ammunition was old. So I wonder if that's whether it's older ammunition and that's why it's in such bad shape.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You might be right.
Probably not, but maybe.
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 So now, Cherry, now you can get into your
Now we're into the
So
Kentucky
you're-
boys.
So tell us what this is about.
So basically, we asked if there was any, if there's any other suspects or anybody else that we think that could have had anything to do with this. And there was a phone call into the sheriff's office, I think he said, that was from a next door neighbor about people that there's some strange goings on with a girl that looked a little bit like Bobbi Jo in their backyard.
Yeah, so let's see what Charlie has to say about this. Disappeared.
Well, there was a neighbor to this house about 30 yards away that came forward with some information. He actually came forward with it back in 82 or 83, and it was never worked on. Yeah. And then he came forward again after we formed the task force. And his story basically was that he was at his house and he knew that there were two guys that were living there that were working for a plumbing outfit, and they would come and go. There are two cabins in the woods, basically, kind of remote. And this owner of the one cabin was watching what was going on next door. And he thought at some point prior to the killing, but still in the winter part of that year, so probably in December sometime, that he saw the two guys go into their home or the house that they were renting, and they were accompanied by two women. And he saw one of them resembled Bobbi Jo Oberholtzer.
Okay.
And this was in the middle of the day, and they obviously were in party mode, rather. And so that's why we were trying to figure out who the two guys were. Because, obviously, if Bobbi Jo is out partying in the middle of the day, that's something we should know about.
And I think I said this to Charlie after this. From I guess the little I know about Bobbi Jo, I don't see Bobbi Jo as the type of person that'd be out partying with some boys from Kentucky, in the middle of the day afternoon, especially if she's, especially being married and, even if there are some marital issues, I don't know. I have to wonder about that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem likely, does it? Really?
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe not. Yeah, but then again, you remember? Okay, so I mentioned Dwayne Owen earlier. The other serial killer that I mentioned to you was Marvin Gray, who was originally from where?
Oh, he's a crazy man.
He's really crazy. He's from Kentucky.
He was from Kentucky. That's right. He was
and he was out. He was out in Colorado around that time. So what if he was one of the country boys or the?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. They're still looking for those boys, the brothers, that they believe had come from Kentucky that worked for the local plumber. They still don't know who they are. So they're still appealing on Charlie's website, on the Rocky Mountains Cold Case website. They're still appealing for that. So it could have been him. I hope not, because he was just crazy.
And with some breaking news, I just got a response from Charlie McCormick in regards to Owen.
Okay.
He stated that it is believed that Owen left Dillon to go to Florida in November 1981, and that his DNA has been in CODIS since 1998. So that means if his DNA has been in CODIS since 1998, then
it's not.
There's no match.
Yeah.
And then he's saying, so if he left in November 1981, it could not have been him. As long as that's actually when he left.
Okay, so it's not Dwayne then.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
If he left in November, not.
Then no. If he left in November, then it's not him. Another one bites the dust.
Should I go back and be like, hey, what about Teresa? Was that the unidentified woman?
No. He's gonna go away. Stop bothering me.
Leave me alone.
Weirdos.
Leave me alone.
Either that or he's going to dub us detectives in, when they do honorary detectives. Maybe we can be honorary detective Morgan and Cherry.
Right.
Of the Crimepedia Police Department. would be so cool.
So with the Kentucky boys out of the way, now, Cherry, I know that you were very interested. I think you were asking a lot of questions about type of vehicles and vehicle leads, and if we believe that this would have been something, if we think it was a car that the suspect was driving,
Yeah.
a truck or a van.
Yes. We both immediately think van, didn't we? For some reason, like we thought truck straight away. We just didn't seem to think it would be a car. So we just wanted to check with him. Obviously, we're not from the area, so we don't know what's most commonly driven around there. So just to check to see whether it was likely to be a truck or a van or a car.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this got us into a conversation where Charlie told us about another eyewitness that that came forward the day after
Yes.
Bobbi Jo's murder.
Yeah.
Who claimed to have been hitchhiking with her at least at one point.
Well, cars, of course, have come up numerous times from different avenues. Probably the first car that came up as a lead was actually from two witnesses, a man and a woman, who came forward the day after Bobbi Jo was found, and they came to the Breckenridge Police Department with information that they thought they had seen Bobbi Jo get into a truck.
Okay.
These people, it was a man and a woman, and they were drunk actually on the night of the murders, and they were trying to hitchhike home themselves over towards the south, Fairplay and all that.
Yeah.
And they were standing out hitchhiking, and they were joined by a single woman who they thought looked like Bobbi Jo, but they weren't sure. Plus, as I say, they were drunk, and they weren't real sure when they came forward with the information exactly where on Main Street they were standing.
Okay.
They had 3 or 4 different locations that they thought they were. So anyway, the 3 of them would be standing there hitchhiking, and an old pickup truck pulled over with 2 guys in it and offered everybody a ride. And it was obvious to the couple that if they accepted the ride, they'd be riding in the back of the pickup truck, where there was looked like a little bit of firewood covered with snow.
Yeah.
And that the single woman, if it was Bobbi Jo, would probably get the seat in the truck. So the couple turned down the ride, but they say the single woman accepted the ride. The passenger in the truck got out, let the woman in. Passenger got back in and took off. And the description of the truck, it was a typical mountain truck. It was an old one with bubble fenders, running boards, long bed, rear wheel drive, not all wheel drive, and kind of a brown or gold colored. So that was the first vehicle we were very interested in, and still are.
Okay, so I heard something in there besides Augie whining.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't think I picked up the first time, or when he actually said this, and I don't know if you caught it. So he said that this single woman that this couple saw, or said that they were hitchhiking with, when they accepted the ride, the passenger in the truck got out.
Yeah, and let her in.
The single woman let her in, then got in.
So there's two passengers, so 2 men and a woman.
2 men. Yeah. So why would, first off, if you're going to give someone a ride, why would you put them in the middle? Why wouldn't you just scoot over? So that's strange. Okay. But besides that, you kind of have to take this with a grain of salt, right? You have a drunk couple who can't remember where exactly they were on the street hitchhiking. And telling them what they saw. Now, I should also mention, we talked about the last person to see Bobbi Jo that we're pretty sure saw Bobbi Jo was the man who offered her a ride, but he was only going down to Blue River.
Hmm.
And so he was working a construction site. Now, he said that she was alone, that she wasn't with anyone.
Hmm.
So we have conflicting information. Was she alone? Was she with two other people? Who was actually there? Now, is it possible that after he offered the ride and she, drove away, that the couple showed up? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't think that they're making up the story.
No, I don't think they are. I mean, I don't think they are either. I think there's certain things that when you're drunk, you would you'd remember somebody getting out and then her getting in. Perhaps you'd remember that, but the rest of
Yeah.
it, I mean, as for not knowing where exactly you were, I can understand you wouldn't know where you are, but that's a strange thing to just
Yes.
make up or to falsely remember that a truck
Yeah,
pulled up, someone got out, and then she got in.
especially if it's what we kind of think would have happened,
Yeah,
because we kind of think it was two people,
yeah,
right?
that's right.
And so
And
I don't think I can eat. I don't know. I don't. While it's tough because they were drunk, I don't think I can just wave it away
no.
at the same time.
They weren't absolutely hammered because they remembered that there was firewood in the back of the truck and there was snow on it, and they didn't want to have to get in the back of the truck. So that's why they turned the lift down, because there wasn't enough space for them all to get in. So they would have had to been ride in the back of the truck. So that's why they said no, because they didn't want to ride in the back. So they're not
Which
drunk
makes
enough
sense,
exactly.
yeah.
They're not drunk enough to forget that. They remembered that. I don't think they were absolutely hammered, but they can't remember exactly where they were standing, which is, fair enough. I guess it probably all looks the same pretty much.
And I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine. I know people do. They do come forward with with some wrong information or stuff they made up just so that they can feel like they're a part of something. But I don't know. In this case, I don't see that.
No.
I don't know. They had a nice night on the town, and they drank a little too much, and so yeah.
Yeah.
Now that gets into, and I think we mentioned it, Bobby's rules. So if you don't remember, let's listen to what Charlie said Bobby's rules for picking up or taking rides were.
Well, she would have taken, according to her rules, she would not have accepted this ride.
Okay,
because
at all.
she was going to be getting in there alone.
Okay.
But of course, first of all, she's about 2 hours late getting home, and it's colder than hell. It's 20 below. She might have made an exception.
So once again, her rules were she would only accept a ride from a man if she knew who he was, right? She would never take a ride she would only take a ride if she didn't know who it was. It would have to be either a woman or a man and a woman.
Yes.
Then the other thing is that she so if it was two men that she did not know, she would not take
would
it.
not have got in the car. But like you said, she was running late. It was freezing. Would she have just gone, I'll be fine. Let's just this once.
Yeah, true. Or, I mean, this might be I don't know if this is far-fetched, but let's say that the drunk people said it was two men. What if the man that got out was actually a woman?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, because they were pretty drunk. So, they could have mixed that up. It could have been a short-haired woman. You never know.
Yeah. So I don't know.
The other thing is she could have recognized them. It could have been somebody that she may not have actually known well, but it could have been somebody she recognized around town. So somebody she felt relatively safe with getting in the car with because she knew of him. Tony that paints the town, or the plumber or something that she sees quite a lot because she's always in town working. Could it have been somebody that she perhaps knew of? And she thought, I'll just get in with him. He's going to be fine. Yeah. Oh, how wrong you were.
Yeah, very true. So we talked to Charlie then again about really about publicity. We kind of talk about like what really moves this case, or what helps.
Yeah.
And he's talking about publicity, and we got into talking about unsolved mysteries.
Yeah.
And that was really the first thing that really kind of helped this case out and kind of brought it to national attention.
Yeah.
So here's Charlie talking about unsolved mysteries and at least one of the tips that they received for this case.
Well, that was the case. That was the status, though. I mean, that's what when that was done in 1991, I think. That's why the case kind of died. Was that everybody just said, "Oh shit, we can't solve this case. It's got to be the husband that did it, but we don't have evidence," and it just died. Tell you a funny thing about the unsolved mysteries, if you'll remember. The suspect was portrayed as driving a van.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that has come back to haunt us. Everybody that has a tip thinks that the person was in a van, and that's usually the centerpiece of their tip.
Uh-huh.
But I think the first time it was shown, we got probably 200 calls. They had a phone link up, 800 number that we set up. And we got a call from a guy. He said, "I just watched your show and I taped it." And he said, "I can freeze frame the van and I can read the license number."
Oh no!
Here it is.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, bless him.
That's not how it works.
Isn't that remarkable?
That is hilarious. That's dope.
I'm good at him for trying to help, though. That's quite sweet.
That makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should say that I started out by talking specifically about Jeff Oberholtzer and how he was really the prime suspect in what everything kind of was pointing towards at that time. And then specifically about Unsolved Mysteries is if you watch the episode, I can't remember what season it's on, but I know that I know it's out there.
Yeah, because
but if you watch the episode, basically it's a typical Unsolved Mysteries case where it's kind of like, okay, Jeff Oberholtzer did it.
They basically go right in on Jeff, don't they?
They do, yeah.
They do, yeah.
Exactly. Because they really don't talk about any other suspects. They kind of talk about Jeff and
it's basically just
what
Jeff
he was doing. Jeff did it. No.
Yeah, it's a shame, yeah.
So, but that was pretty funny. I still laugh at that thought.
I do too,
I can freeze frame it. I can tell.
So sweet.
Man, it's a reenactment, man.
Yeah. Oh, they obviously didn't realize, and I think it's quite sweet that they tried to help. They must have felt really good and thought, "Oh, I've done it! I've got the license plate number."
Oh my god, I can help
not
them.
Not quite, but thank you for trying.
That is funny.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Yeah, bless him.
So, I mean, we have plenty more from Charlie. That I mean. We've probably gone through about half of what we talked about, but we thought this little clip from Charlie would be a good way to kind of wrap this up. I mean, we're almost 2 hours into this now, so let's hear from Charlie one more time before we call this episode a wrap. Okay.
Homicide has that aspect to it that you can, first of all, it's a heartbreak to work on any homicide because you're dealing with a lot of grief and sorrow and loss. And you're dealing generally with the worst part of what human beings can do to one another. So you kind of have to steel yourself to it. And over a period of time, you do. But you don't become completely immune to it. But yeah, it's very difficult to work something like this. And we thought for sure when we came up with this DNA in 1996, it was just going to be a matter of sending it to CODIS, and then they'd send us back the name of the guy that did it. And of course, that didn't work out that way. But there's still enough going to keep the case going. Good stuff, good leads. And it's been publicity that's kept it going. Publicity and the fact that we've got DNA evidence has kept this case going.
And I really hope that our coverage and our episodes on this case will give it some more publicity, and more people will hear and listen, and hopefully someone will know something, right?
Yeah, hopefully it will just spark something in someone's mind that will go, well, actually, what about this? And then that will spark off a whole new set of investigations that perhaps might lead to finding the person that did this. I think especially for Charlie, I would love to congratulate him on solving this case one day. I'd
Yeah.
love him to
Oh,
be
yeah.
able to solve this case. He's been working on this for a really, really long time. And I think it would be really good for all his hard work and the team that have been working on this over the years. It will be good for their work, for it to come to a conclusion, because it must be pretty heartbreaking to work on a case like that and never find out who did it.
And it's a sad part of a case like this and how old it is as the years go by and the longer it's been, the likelihood of people not knowing who these two women were and the likelihood that one day we'll wake up and everyone that they loved might be gone, it increases, right?
That's right.
So I hope we continue their memory, and I hope that that they're never forgotten. Even if and when this case is solved, I believe that their memory needs to go on and needs to shine.
Definitely. Yeah, they need to never be forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah.
So this may be our final episode of this case.
I doubt it very much.
I doubt it too.
I doubt it very much.
Like I said, we have more of the Charlie interview that we can actually go through and listen. Maybe we'll release some more of it at a later date. But for now, I think this is a good way to wrap it up.
Yes, definitely.
Oh man.
Oh, I can't wait. It's like sad again because it's the end of the episode again. So yeah, we put so much work into this episode, and this is your baby episode if you like. So, but it's been good fun. It has been really good. Investigating this one, actually, I've actually enjoyed talking to Charlie and looking into it and exploring the different avenues. And it's always difficult because you're not in the area, so you can't go down and have a look, and you can't go and see for yourself. So it is difficult. I would like to one day go to Breckenridge. I would like to go and see the area. So we did talk about that, didn't we? So it would be quite good if we do get the chance. We'll definitely take it. And go to Breckenridge ourselves and go and see.
Amazing.
Yeah, it would be quite good just to get the aspect of the sheer size of it, because it's easy to say, oh yeah, it's 30 miles. But if you were to actually drive that or to walk that, you'd see how vast that is. And I think it'd be quite interesting to see it in the snow and to see what it is actually like for ourselves. Maybe we'll do that.
Maybe in 2022 when we have CrimeCon, which we won't tell you where it is because we're not allowed.
No.
But if we get 100 Patreons signed up in this next month, I will tell you where 2022 CrimeCon will be.
Yeah, and there's I will be there. I will be there. 2022.
Yeah, because we could go there and then make the trip to Denver, and then take the drive over to Breckenridge.
Very good idea. I'm liking this plan. Need to book more time off work.
Well, yes, you do.
Good plan.
No weddings in 2022.
No weddings. Sorry.
No weddings in 2022.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I can't do it. No June weddings. Not happening.
So there you have it. There's our interview with Charlie. We did have an update on Dwayne Owen.
We did.
So yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. We will be back next week or whenever. Yeah, we'll be back next week.
Yes, we will.
For a real episode. So even if you're listening to this in the future, we will be back next week.
We're always back next week. We will see you then.
And what are we doing next?
Next week, we've got the case of Stuart Lubbock.
Stuart Lubbock.
Yes.
Stuart.
He is our next case. It's a British case. And I think Brits might not know him. They might not know his name, but they'll definitely know the man who was charged in connection with his death.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it, and I might not look anything up.
I don't think you